Not only is Apple working on a larger iPad, but with that, a new version of iPadOS that is going to make use of this larger display. Now, in this video, I'm gonna give you guys all the info that we have. We had previous leaks and some new information from a user that actually was the first person to mention Apple's dynamic island for the iPhone back when we thought we're gonna have two separate cutouts side by side on the iPhones, and he's been putting out new leaks that are very credible. Now, before we get into the details on this new iPad, I have to mention that I am actually even more excited for a better version of iPadOS 17, because when Apple added the M1 chip to the iPad, we were all finally waiting on a professional version of iPadOS that would solve a lot of the shortcomings. Even the previous chips were just fine. The limitation was the software, but unfortunately, Apple just added a few little features and they were still really limiting. Later, they gave us Stage Manager as a kind of fix, but a lot of people weren't super impressed with it, especially with the limitations and the certain chips and iPads you couldn't use it with. It was more like an upgrade tactic. So you guys let me know, what are you more excited for? A larger iPad or just better iPad software that has a lot more capabilities to make use of the powerful hardware? Now, onto the larger iPad. Some people might say, why would you want a larger iPad? 12.9 inches is big enough. Well, there are a few reasons. And for those that are kind of doubting this, I think by the end of this video, you won't be. Take a look at what Apple has been doing recently. We had the iPhone 14 Plus, which is a cheaper version with a larger screen. That is a first. And then the upcoming 15-inch MacBook Air that is going to be a large screen for a cheaper price, which is what a lot of people want. Now, all the way back in 2021, Mark Gurman, which has a great track record, said that Apple is working on larger screened iPads, but they will take a couple years to come. And here we are in 2023. And then after that, Ross Young, which is a display analyst with pretty much the most accurate record in terms of devices with these displays coming to market, you can literally see his record. The only thing he got wrong is the naming of the iPhone SE. He confirmed that the 14.1-inch iPad Pro is being developed with their supply chain sources, and that it will have mini LEDs and ProMotion as well, and he gave us a timeline of 2023. And confirming that, Majin Buu, another great source, said that Apple's developing a 14.1-inch iPad M2 with 512 gigs and 16 gigs of RAM as the base storage, meaning that this is going to be a high-end device. Now, the M2 part, that part right there is a little weird because this new leak says that it's gonna be an M3 based chip, but of course this product is still in the works, and it could make sense if it's high-end that it will have the latest chip if it was pushed back just a little bit, especially if it's gonna have those base specs and it's gonna be an expensive device. And even the iPad Air is gonna be getting the M2, so they want it to stand apart. But the weird thing was that shortly after that, he revised his information saying that it doesn't look to feature a mini LED or ProMotion, so this iPad that was still being developed doesn't seem to be a Pro device. That caused a lot of confusion, and it didn't make sense. Why would Apple make the largest iPad ever and make it a budget one? One kind of thought was to upsell those that have smaller iPads, but the people that are willing to use such a large device, it would make a lot more sense to price it higher and have higher end features, and that's what looks like is actually going to come. Latest info is from analyst 941, who is a Twitter user and that posts on the Mac Rumors forums, telling us about the iPad Pro 14.1 inch and giving us some info. Now, once again, he was the guy that first brought out the news about Apple's Dynamic Island, how the layout will be based on information from his engineer friends. And more recently, he was the one that shared the info about the capacitive buttons on the iPhone 15 Pro models, the microprocessor that's gonna manage all of this, and a lot of other information that have since been confirmed. And with that, a bunch of information on iOS 17, lock screen details, control center, a bunch of different updates as well. So he is very well connected. Now, the first info that he gave us was short, but it actually points to a few different things, including the M3 chip on the upcoming MacBooks, and I'll explain why. But this is what he said: a 14.1-inch iPad that supports two 6K Thunderbolt/USB 4 displays using daisy chaining and a date of 2024. Now, this makes a little bit of sense because we also had info that the 14.1-inch iPad was canceled for 2023, and that 2024 date also makes sense because when Apple releases their iPads, they usually have a launch cycle of about a year and a half, so that would line up, say, for springtime. And the second part of that is that special version of iPadOS 17 that's being developed specifically for larger iPads, which could be called the iPad Ultra or Studio, and the change in there for two 6K displays at 60 Hz. So that is support in the code. He also mentioned that that signals that it's gonna have an M3 Pro, but not so fast. I don't think so. And he actually kind of agreed that it does not make sense because it doesn't have to have an M3 Pro in order to have multiple displays that are external. That could just be a fix for the M3 chip. Both the M1 and M2 chip could only support one external display. That was a limitation, but people are having enough of that. They're getting fed up. So with the M3 chip, it makes much more sense that that chip itself could support two external displays, and that also gives this device a capability like that. Now, another option is that this larger iPad could have two Thunderbolt ports built in, and I say absolutely yes, please. If we're getting a larger iPad with better software that does have a high price tag, give us two ports. That way you can charge at the same time and connect something else, or connect multiple devices and multiple displays. So what do you guys think about a larger iPad with better software? Is that something that you would spend extra money on? An iPad that is actually a laptop replacement, but with the extra added features of a tablet. You'll have a new keyboard case that's also probably gonna be expensive. Apple got a patent for that. You let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. How much would you be willing to spend? Go ahead and click that circle above to subscribe. Check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next video.